Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Today we are talking about Hellraiser 2022, the rebate. Rebate? I feel like I need a rebate after watching this. The reboot slash remake, but not really a remake, of the 1987 film. The non-review review is that I gotta get this video out quick because I gotta go take a nap because I'm so tired after watching that movie that I gotta take a nap. So let's go through my notes here. Towards the beginning of the movie, and I'm just getting into spoilers, so you've been warned. We see this weird, I don't even know what you'd call it, this room that serves the purpose of victims that have been fooled into coming there. It's like where they're sacrificed, but there are also just like what do you call them? Podiums, like pedestals, just little, standalone shelves displaying stuff. And I just wrote, the camera is lingering on things that are probably things, but I don't know what things they are. So this is just one of those, I assume there are references to other Hellraiser movies that I haven't seen. Don't have a problem with that. It's just like, that's what the movie opens with. Then, the note that I'm going to spend probably the most time on, that's a lame puzzle box. So I, by no means, am I some kind of puzzle master or puzzle genius. But as you can see, I've dabbled in puzzles, right? And yeah, most of the time I look up the solution because that's how I enjoy puzzles, and everyone can enjoy things in their own way. But I dabble in these things and I watch, people that do puzzles on YouTube and stuff like that. And it's like you kind of see some similar processes of how puzzles work, even if you don't always know when to implement them, right? But the puzzle that this guy solves, and like, we're gonna get into it, okay? So just hold off before you tell me I'm wrong. The one guy tells the other guy that it's almost finished, right? But the guy takes the puzzle and just like turns a couple things, right? It'd be like if this was the puzzle and he just turned a thing and turned a thing and turned a thing, and then it like pops out, right, to signify that you've unlocked something, and then he just pushes it back in and it stabs him through the hand and he dies, right? It's a lame puzzle box because A, nothing about it is unique or interesting. It gets more unique and interesting along the way. We'll get there. But in this scene, it's just so boring that it's just turning a couple things, right? But also, like, you wouldn't, good puzzles, like, lead you to their conclusion, right? They'll signify in some way that something is supposed to happen, or they'll throw in red herrings if they want to make it more difficult, right? But, like, there's no indication one way or the other how this puzzle is supposed to work. He's just randomly turning, right? It'd be like if you gave this scrambled thing to someone who doesn't do puzzles, right? Even if you don't know what you're doing, you can, like, make different shapes, right? And you can just turn it enough to where you might think that you've solved it. And then you can do it, oh no, right? And so, like, my point being that some puzzles can seemingly be solved, right? And people are like, oh, they're solved, but they're not actually solved, right? But, like, if you just mess around with it for long enough, even if you don't know what you're doing, you'll eventually solve it, right? Even if you're just absent-mindedly doing it. That's a really good one for that. this is a really good one for that. People can solve it even if they don't realize how. Again, you might think that you've solved it and then you realize that you didn't actually solve it. But, like, it's possible to accidentally your way into it. This would be another one that, like, you can just kind of twist around and not really know what you're doing. And then, oh my goodness, look, it just worked, right? And, like, again, you can think that you've got it solved when you look at one side, but then you look at the other side and it's not actually solved. So there are some puzzles that you can accidentally your way into. And then there are some, like, Rubik's Cubes where you have to, know how to do it or know how to learn how to figure it out. The puzzle in the movie, it's just moving parts. It's not even a puzzle. It's basically a fidget cube. Here we go. Better example. It'd be like if you just had something like this and you just went, and then it popped itself open, right? And it just went, and it popped itself open. Or you just, and then it popped itself open. Like, you do nothing to it, and it opens. Now, as the movie goes on, it seems like that's intentional. It seems like the Cenobites want people to stumble upon this. It's not quite that bad, but it's close. Maybe more something like this. It seems like they want people to stumble upon it and solve it so that they can come and take them. Which, like, if your goal is to just murder people, fine. But, like the original Hellraiser, that thing had to be sought after, had to be procured in some way, right? And then the point was only people that really are focused, really know what they're after and what they're doing. Like, right, you have to know what this cube is about. At least that's the feeling I got from the first one, was that you had to be serious to solve this puzzle. You weren't going to waste their time. It wasn't going to be any kind of nonsense. Like, you had to be seriously looking to get an audience with these people to be granted. And the test to achieve that was the puzzle box. And in this movie, it's like the puzzle box is just, it's like the people that put the fake number pads on gas stations and then just steal your information. It's a trap that they put out into the world to try to catch people, which is completely the opposite of how it felt in the first Hellraiser. Now, there's like 8 or 9 movies in the middle that I haven't seen, so maybe the franchise has shifted over time, right? But I feel like, again, when you throw this into the conversation of the other 80s horror movies, which, just looking through the IMDb trivia, it's called a slasher multiple times. It's not a slasher. It's not a slasher franchise. But people keep trying to put it in that conversation. It's like Halloween got rebooted multiple times, but like it's always been the same basic concept. Friday the 13th got rebooted. Same concept. Nightmare on Elm Street got rebooted. Same concept. Like, imagine if in the Nightmare on Elm Street reboot, instead of Freddy coming and attacking people in their dreams, imagine if people were seeking out books and trying to acquire knowledge and doing all this research so that they could perform this certain kind of ritual so that when they fell asleep, they were granted an audience with Freddy. That would be very, very different, right? That's what happened here. It's completely different process from the first movie. Now, it's also nonsense because throughout the movie, the box changes shape. It reconfigures itself into all these weird, nonsensical things. And it's, again, I'm not an expert, but if you told me that box from the first movie was a thing that could be physically real in real space and you could buy it, like, I would not be surprised at all. I almost expect that that's a prop that people can buy, right? And there were some interesting things where not only did the center come out and rotate, but like the corners rotated, right? So there were interesting features of that. It wasn't just a plain box, but it seemed like it was based in reality. Whereas this one is not at all. So if you're going to make this paranormal thing that doesn't follow the rules of physics anyway, and it's just a trap, why make it a puzzle box? Is it like if it's just supposed to be a trap, it would make more sense to do a fidget thing, right? Because people love to fidget. So just make it a fidget cube. Those are big in the zeitgeist right now. So it's just the entry concept into what happens in the rest of this movie falls flat for me. Let's get into the rest of my notes. I wanted this video to be less than 10 minutes, and we're only on my second note. Another movie's full of crappy people. So I mentioned in my video for the first one, I don't like it when I don't have a character to root for. Again, we have a character that's the hero of this movie, but it's even worse than the first one because she's a pretty crappy person too. Everyone's a horrible person. I just wrote down mirror nonsense because I went on a big tangent in one of my recent videos about mirrors and how they freak me out. But then there's movies like this where a character's staring at a mirror and you just know that something's going to happen. And I literally had the thought process in my head of they're going to do something weird with this mirror. It's not going to make any sense with how the Cenobites work or how any of the Hellraiser IP works, right? It's, at least as far as the first movie goes. It's not going to make any sense. It's not going to be logical at all. They're just going to do it because it's a weird, creepy thing that horror movies do sometimes. So they're going to do it too. And it's exactly what they did. So we leave behind the first guy from the opening scene. Now we're following other people. And I just kind of realized in the middle of the movie as I was bored, it's like, what happened to that guy? And like, he comes back, don't worry. But I wrote down the note, what this guy was doing is he was tricking other people into opening the boxes, finishing most of the puzzle before them, because apparently some parts of it are hard, and then just like watching what happened. That's what he was into. And like, that's weird, but that's an interesting movie concept, right? To like see someone constantly tricking people, preferably in different ways, right? And like, as the box changes, maybe it attracts different kinds of people. Like, that seems like that's an interesting idea for a movie, but it's just the opener of this one, and then they leave it behind. Then I write a note, why does it take the Cenobites so long to respond? Feels very inconsistent. It's just one of those things where the movie's put in to add tension, but if you think about it at all, it's just dumb and stupid. They can literally open up portals wherever they want. So if there's a moving car, why would they open up a portal in the street? Later on, they just do it in the car. That makes sense. Do that first. Then, the main character at one point in this movie is basically given, not instructions, but like she's told her brother has died. And she's told, hey, if you sacrifice different people with this cube, you can get your brother back, right? And like, there's like not even any conflict with her. She's like, no, I'm not going to do that. That's wrong. Would have been way more interesting from a movie perspective if she did struggle with that, especially because some of the people she's with are definitely worth murdering in a movie context. But not only does she not even make it an interesting back and forth, not only is it not an interesting conversation with any other characters, but like, that concept, again, would be an interesting movie if from the outset you have a character who has lost somebody. Maybe they witnessed it happen, right? Maybe they were there. However it happens, they understand that they have to do these things to bring that person back. That's kind of like what the first Hellraiser was, so maybe that's where the idea came from. But in the first Hellraiser, she's just the bait. she's not actively doing anything. She's not having to, I guess she is smacking him in the back of the head, but like she's not using the puzzle box at all. She's not dealing with the Cenobites directly. She's just this middle person. And I think it would be interesting to see someone who's not a bad person, like she is, right? But for the sake of bringing back their loved one, you know, are they going to try sacrificing animals and see if that works? Are they going to try finding people who are already near death so that they're not, you know, murdering someone who would not otherwise die, right? Maybe they're like an ambulance chaser type thing where they're actively on the lookout for accidents or people getting hurt or something like that to try and keep their conscience a little bit more clear, and their struggle with that through the movie. And, you know, are they going to try and go find some class of people that they think are lesser, but then, you know, that's an interesting idea, and that's an interesting struggle for a character to go on. The main character in this one, she's presented with what could be a struggle, but she just refutes it. And then even when she bypasses that and is told that she can have her brother back, she's like, nope, I don't want that from you. She's like, she doesn't make any interesting choices. So we got two different, more interesting movie concepts that I thought of while watching this movie. So then I wrote down, that's kind of what I thought Trevor was doing, because early on it seems very much like he is baiting her and goading her into using this box, into taking the box, into keeping the box, into using the box, into furthering this journey. So it seemed very obvious that he was somehow behind it, but then you see the guy who's actually behind it, so I'm like, oh, okay. I guess it just wasn't then. And then like 5 minutes later, nope, turns out Trevor was working, her boyfriend was working for that guy. I don't know if I said Trevor's her boyfriend. But it's like, so all the obvious stuff that they put in was leading exactly where you thought it was, except for he wasn't actually in charge of anything. He was just another lackey, which is less interesting. Then I wrote, so much for solving the box, because at a certain point, you know, again, the premise is if you solve the box, you are then taken. And in this movie, it's now if you solve the box, like a blade comes out and pierces you, right? And that's how it takes your blood, which I honestly don't remember if that was a factor in the first one or not. I don't remember it happening either with Frank or with Kirsty, whatever her name was. Maybe I missed it though, right? But in this one, it's very obvious. So the first person we see solve a box, he gets stabbed. Now the main girl here, Riley, in this movie, she solves the box, but she's holding it in such a weird, unnatural way, she avoids the blade. And so it doesn't get her. And then her brother comes up and like, I don't even remember how it happened, just kind of accidentally slams his hand on the blade. So that's when he gets taken, right? And then, who gets taken next? She's struggling with another lackey of the main villains, and her finger gets caught in it. So it's like, she wasn't solving it, nor was the brother, right? But she was actively moving it around. So, okay, fine. But then, like, by the end, it's just one character solving it, somehow knowing where the blade's going to come out and avoiding that, and then just going around and stabbing people with it. So I'm like, it's not even a puzzle box at that point. It's just a knife. Just make it a knife. Why? And it's like, the concept of the puzzle box is so important to this IP. You know, it's the cover of the DVD. And like, I've seen, you know, multi-packs where it's like in the shape of the puzzle box. So clearly that's an important part of the IP continuing through the series. Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe they just put the whole series in a cube and it's only important in the first one. I don't know. But it's not even a puzzle box at the end of this movie. It's literally just a knife that you're going around stabbing people with. There's one point where, like, someone who didn't even solve the puzzle takes it and stabs someone with it. Their tastes were not what I imagined. So the main bad guy, that's not a demon person, he goes through this process to get a reward. And the reward that he chooses is pleasure. He tells this group of demons that have their flesh all pulled up and strewn about and pins in their head and all sorts of this stuff, who say that that is their pleasure. He tells them that he wants pleasure, and so he gets a big giant thing stuck through him too. And then he says later on, their tastes were not what I imagined. What did you think their tastes were? How could you have possibly misread what they were into? It makes no sense. Then I just wrote, bad move, Trevor, because at this point, Trevor, the boyfriend, he's been outed. His girlfriend knows that he led them onto this whole thing, and she's standing there where it's literally just in the shape of a dagger. And you can see the wheels turning in her head. She realizes that if she kills the boyfriend, then she can save her friend who's actively being mutilated. And he, tries to talk her out of it. He's like, hey, now, come on. Just bolt it, man. Just run. What are you thinking? Even if you don't think she's going to kill you, at that point, you're done being her boyfriend, right? There's no future there. Just get out of there. Why would you try to talk that out? And then my last note is just lament. Because they expect to, it seemed, the way they explained it, it seemed like there was a specific order that you have to do stuff in. And the last one, it showed the last one being power. But then she was like, oh, we can do it, resurrection. But it seems like you can just choose what you want, your reward to be. And the configurations that it goes through seem to be irrelevant to that. I don't know. But they ask her what she wants her reward to be. Assuming it's going to be her brother, because that's what the whole movie tells us it's going to be. And then she's like, no, I don't want anything from you. Nothing from you can be good, Which, that's an interesting idea. It's just not consistent with her character, but whatever, right? And so they're like, you're gonna always wonder what you could have done that you didn't do. So you have chosen lament. And they're making it seem like not taking any of their horrible gifts is the worst possible choice. And then to really rub that in, she goes out with the last other surviving person that she saved by murdering her boyfriend. And he goes, what happened back there? As if he wouldn't have already known before that point. And then she says, I made a choice, which is A, not what she did. She chose nothing. And B, not a good explanation to him of what, but it's forced because she says, I made a choice. And then he goes, was it the right one? And then the movie's over and you have to lament on whether or not she made the right choice. This movie's not very good, in my opinion. Again, like I said, enjoy things how you want to enjoy them. If you liked this, good for you. The fact that they put it on Hulu tells me that they didn't think people would pay to go see it in a theater. It's October. This is the time for people to go see things in theaters. You got another Halloween movie out next week, so it's the time for 80s horror nostalgia. And they threw it on Hulu. I hope Werewolf by Night is better than this. Those are my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments section. I'm going to go take a nap. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.